Hi everyone, this is Miss Barb from the Sterling Heights Library, coming to you from home again, but we have some great news. Since the last time that I did one of our story times, we have been informed that we are now able to go into phase 1 of the library's plan for reopening. The librarians and all of the library staff are allowed back into the building for limited work that we can do. We have entered phase 1, which started this week, and for phase 1 we are only going to be able to do phone service. The library will be a little bit crazy for a while before we can have people come back in. You may be aware that we were undergoing construction, just starting construction right when the building was shutting down for the COVID virus. So it is a little bit of a mess in there right now. So right now we are not able to have people come into the library, but we will be available for phone reference and to put items on hold by phone and by computer. Starting next week on June 15th, on Monday, we will start curbside pickup so you can get library materials again. If you check out our website, it will give you information on how you can place items on hold, which will either be by calling or doing it on the computer. And then starting next week on Monday, we will have a system in place where you can come to the library and it will be a touchless pickup of books where we will have the items available for you, and a staff member will come to your car and put them either in your trunk or into a back seat of the car. So that way we can all be safe and until we know more things with the virus and spreading and stuff like that, everyone's still going to have on masks and stuff like that. We just don't want to have any germ transmissions. So that is some fantastic news to find out about. So hopefully we'll see you soon at the library when you come in to pick up your items. And as time goes on, we will be opening for more things. But right now it's just going to be the curbside pickup. That starts next Monday, June 15th. If you have any questions, you can call the library. We are there. We are open our normal hours right now. Someone will be there during normal hours to answer the phone and answer any questions that you have. And it's just going to be so great to hear from you all again. So enough of all that. Let's get to the story time now. I've got a story that I'd like to share with you today. One of my favorite stories by one of my favorite authors. This is by Frank Ash. The story is called Sand Cake. And because the story takes place at a beach, and it's a really cool story too, because it takes place at a beach, there are 2 crafts that we're going to do today. And as always, we do an edible craft and a paper craft. Both of them you will need paper plates for. And my sample of the non-edible, the regular paper craft, is to make a paper plate fish, which she's kind of a crazy looking, very decorated fish. So this is one of the crafts I'll show you how to make today. The other one is for our edible craft. We've got a paper plate, and the edible part of it is that we are using goldfish crackers on the craft itself. These are all just glued on with a glue stick, so it's a pretty simple thing to make. And I'll give you some alternate things that you can do if you don't have blue paint like I used, and if you don't have the crepe paper like I used for making the seaweed kelp stuff at the bottom. So before we get into the crafts, let's go ahead and start with our story. This is Sand Cake by Frank Ash. Sand Cake by Frank Ash. One summer day, the bear family went to the beach where they swam and sunned themselves on a blanket. After a while, Baby Bear said he felt like doing something else. "If I make you a cake, will you eat it?" he asked Papa Bear. "Sure," said Papa Bear. "If you use flour, milk, and eggs, I will be happy to eat your cake." Baby Bear looked around. All he could see was sand and water for miles. "How can I find flour and eggs and milk at the beach?" asked Baby Bear. "That's easy," said Papa Bear. "Eggs come from a chicken, milk comes from a cow, and flour comes from wheat." "Well, if it is so easy," said Baby Bear, "then you make a cake with flour, milk, and eggs, and I will eat it." Okay, said Papa Bear, I will. And he got up and went down to the water's edge. He picked up a stick that had washed up on the beach. With the stick, he drew a chicken in the wet sand. Under the chicken, he drew an egg. He scooped up the egg. You can see he's using his shovel and he's scooping up the egg. And he put it in Baby Bear's bucket. Then he drew some wheat and ground it in his hands to make the flour. He added the flour to the eggs. Next, he drew a cow, and under the cow, a pail of milk. He poured the milk into the bucket with the eggs and flour. On all of this, he sprinkled some salt from the sea. Then Papa Bear drew an oven. Where the oven door was, he dug a hole and buried the bucket. Come on, he said to Baby Bear, let's go for a swim. By the time we come back, the cake will be ready for you to eat. Uh-oh. Do you think Baby Bear wants to eat that cake that's made out of sand? I don't think he wants to eat that cake. Let's see what happens. All the time Baby Bear was swimming, he kept wondering, how will I ever be able to eat that cake? When they came out of the water, Papa Bear dug up the bucket and turned it upside down on the beach. The cake was done. Well now, said Papa Bear, are you going to eat the nice cake I made for you? Uh-oh. He made a cake, but is it really a cake? No, that's not a real cake. What's that cake made out of? That cake is made out of sand. Do you think Baby Bear wants to eat that cake? I don't think he wants to eat that cake. But what can Baby Bear do? Let's see what he does. Sure, said Baby Bear. He said he was ready to eat that cake. He picked up a stick and he drew a picture of himself around the cake. Here I am, and I have eaten the cake. See it in my stomach? Look at that. Did Baby Bear eat the cake? No, he didn't eat that cake. What did he do? Did he draw a picture of himself? He drew a picture of himself. And what's in his tummy? That cake made out of sand. It looks like it is right in his tummy. That was pretty smart of Baby Bear. Papa Bear laughed and gave Baby Bear a great big hug. Now I am hungry too, he said. Then you can both have some of my cake, said Mama Bear, and she opened the picnic basket. I made mine with real flour, milk, and eggs. And it was delicious. Look at that. Does that look like a real cake? That looks like real cake. And do you think it's delicious? I think it is delicious. The end. I hope everyone enjoyed the story Sand Cake by Frank Ash. It is one of my favorite books to share with everyone. The crafts that we have for today, as I promised you at the beginning, as always, I have two crafts that I'm going to share with you. One of them is an edible craft, and the other craft is simply a paper craft. And these are super simple, easy peasy, not a whole lot that you have to do with these crafts today. The first craft, because I think of being at the beach, actually both crafts will have to do with fish. And the first craft is going to be making a paper plate fish, which is a really simple craft. So the first thing you need is paper plate. You will need a box of some sort of crayons, markers, paint, anything that you can do to draw and make designs and color in your paper plate. You will need a glue stick and you will need a pair of scissors. So I'm going to start out with, this is kind of going to look like a Pac-Man, if you remember the Pac-Man games, kind of like a yellow circle with a little triangle cut out for a mouth. That's how we're going to start this craft out. So I'm going to take my scissors and I'm going to cut roughly halfway into the paper plate. And I'm just going to kind of eyeball it. It doesn't have to be exact. So I'm about halfway into the paper plate, and I'm going to cut a triangle shape out. The bigger the triangle that I make, this is going to be the fish's mouth, the bigger the triangle shape that I make, the bigger the mouth will be. This mouthpiece, this triangle that I cut out, is of course going to go on the other end and be the tail. So if I want a bigger tail, then I'll want to cut a bigger mouth. I don't need a huge mouth for my fish or a huge tail, so I'll go medium size. So to me, medium size is a little bit less than a quarter of the plate. So here it is, my fish and my fish's mouth, and this is going to be the tail at the end of the fish. So now that I have my shape cut out, I need to decorate the plate. I've got a box of crayons, and I'm going to decorate, and I think we'll speed it up a little bit. I'm going to move my camera so you can see my speedy rendition of coloring in my craft. Give me just a moment. So that was my speedy sped up version of doing coloring for my fish craft. And as you can see, I have the craft almost finished right here. I just need to do a little bit more coloring, a little bit more gluing. I kind of just did, to me it was like sherbet or sunshine colors all around the edges of the craft. Kind of like a sunset looking colors. Around the edges of it, I did highlight that a little bit. I did put a little bit more crayon marking there. When I think of coloring books and I think of those heavy black lines, I thought I would put something a little bit darker there just to define the edges of the craft. So a little bit more work that I have to do is simply I have to glue on the tail. Got my glue stick, and I'm going to glue right in the back of the fish and put the tail on like so. So there's the tail for the fish. And the last thing that I need to do is put an eye on my fish. Now I happen to have some wiggle eyes here, so I'm going to put on a big wiggle eye for my fish. If you don't have wiggle eyes at home, that is perfectly okay. If you don't have wiggle eyes, you can use a marker, you can use a crayon, you can just draw a big black circle there to be the eye for your fish. But I happen to have the wiggle eyes, so I'm going to use it. I'm going to put a little bit of glue right on the back of the wiggle eye, and I'm going to put the eye on my fish like that. And because I want my fish to be a very fancy fish, I am going to find my black crayon, and I'm going to make my fish have some fancy eyelashes. So that is the paper craft for today. As always, we do have the edible craft too. Edible craft is also a fish-related craft. I'm going to set this one down on the side and show you the edible craft. Stretch and grab all of my pieces that I'll need. So this one, we also need a paper plate. This one, I actually painted the paper plate ahead of time. It's a little bit curled because I used a little bit too much paint when I painted it. So this one you may want to consider using crayon or marker or something else. If you use paper, just, if you use paint, just keep in mind that it might curl up a little bit. So for this one, we are going to use some glue again, glue stick. And we are going to use some edible goldfish crackers. Let me open those up. And I've got a couple of pieces of different colors of crepe paper of 2 different kinds of green. I'm actually going to start with this, and with my scissors, I'm going to cut the crepe paper into smaller pieces, and I'm going to cut this to make seaweed for the craft. So I'm going to cut some long pieces. And they should all be kind of different sizes, a little bit different shapes and different sizes. I imagine things undersea being all a little bit different from one another. Not a bunch of things that are exactly alike. So I'm going to put those pieces on the side. So I've got a bunch of different crepe paper pieces here. And again, I'm going to use my glue. I'm going to choose an area that's going to be the bottom. Right now I'm going to use the area that I think is the most flat, because like I said, it curled a little bit. I can put a book or something on top of it later to hold this down. But right now I'm going to use my glue stick. And I'm going to put some glue at the bottom. And I'm going to make kind of lines going up in the glue too, because that will hold on the crepe paper, and that is going to be like seaweed for this craft. So we're going to put on some strands of seaweed. A little bit of extra glue on my finger, that's okay. It will get used somewhere. So I'm going to kind of alternate between my light and dark colors. It's completely up to you. And if you don't have crepe paper at home, you could use some tissue paper, you could use curling ribbon, you could use, if you have paper towels, use some paper towels and color those with green using either paint or markers. There is no perfect way, there's no way that this absolutely has to be done. So I'm going to put down just a few more pieces of my seaweed. And a little bit more. And of course, once I have all of the seaweed on, I am going to use my glue stick and put a little bit heavier glue so that I can glue on a couple of the goldfish crackers. So this is a really fun craft to do with kids. As you're putting the goldfish crackers on, you can count the crackers that you're putting on. You can start with a certain number of crackers and see how many goldfish crackers end up on your little underwater scene here, or if more crackers end up in somebody's stomach. You know what? Those things have been known to happen before. So I'm going to just take a couple of goldfish crackers. And like I said, this time I'm going to put on a little bit thicker bit of glue. I don't think that I'll need liquid glue for this part. I think I can do it with my regular glue stick. I just have to put it on a little bit thick. So I'm going to put on a couple of blobs of heavy glue, and we will see when I pick it up whether or not it worked. And I'm realizing that my goldfish only have smiles on one side, so some of my goldfish will have smiles, some of them will simply have eyes, because I don't see smiles on both sides of the goldfish, and I want some going in each direction. Ah, this one has a smile on the other side. Okay, and you can continue to put goldfish crackers on. If you want to just put on a couple and eat the rest of the crackers, it is completely up to you or up to your kids how they want to do the craft. So these were the two simple crafts for today, both of them made out of paper plates, and hopefully you found them easy peasy crafts to do. So right here we've got our little underwater scene, and then here is the fish craft. And as I mentioned earlier, and as you have probably seen on the website, the library is open right now for phone service. We do have employees back in the building just for phone service right now. But if you'd like to put items on hold, you can put items on hold, and we are going to start curbside pickup next Monday. So if you put items on hold, you'll be able to pick them up curbside. You do need to call in advance to put the items on hold, or put them on hold through the computer system. Whenever the items are available, we'll notify you. When you come to the library, you'll have to let us know when you're there, and then you will be able to get your library materials again. So it's fantastic that we'll be back in the building, and the librarians will be bringing things out to the cars. So hopefully we'll see some of you soon picking up your library materials. Everyone, have a great afternoon, and I hope that we'll see you soon at the library. Bye-bye.